U.S. The Pentagon is reportedly preparing to deploy 1,500 soldiers to Minnesota as protesters continue to cause chaos for immigration agents in the state.
2030, I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual, kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
What about Biden? This has nothing to do with Biden. Nothing to do with Biden. Nothing. Or Biden's kid. I'm so sick of hearing that shit. This madness needs to stop.
Why are we protecting? Why is the White House protecting pedophiles? Why is the White House protecting pedophiles? I just don't understand it, Ro.
Welcome to the sacrificed.
A Levine teenager is accused of killing his neighbor and then living in his home for weeks.
And tonight, police say it was the suspect's mother who called 911. Fox 10's Steve Nielsen joins us live now with the details in this bizarre case.
Yeah, bizarre is the right word on this. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns here, so you're going to want to listen close. In the end, the suspect is accused of living in the victim's home and even using his car for weeks after killing him. A few candles and some flowers. Maritza didn't know David Jimenez, but wanted to do something, anything, for her Levine neighbor.
It's kind of sad. I mean, he lived by here by himself and figured bring him, candles, flowers, just to let him know, even though nobody knew him, we're going to show up for him.
Everyone used to see David, though, on his corner lot of Seeley Street near 51st Ave in Southern.
He would work on his yard. Saw him out there, but I hadn't seen him for a couple weeks.
No one had. And a few doors down, 18-year-old Xavion Johnson hadn't been seen for a while either. According to police, Johnson's mom smelled a foul odor in the neighborhood and went to Jimenez's house to wonder where her neighbor was, but noticed her son's mail addressed there. She called 911. Police say they found Johnson inside, living in his neighbor's home. In the backyard, they found the body of the homeowner, David Jimenez. At his initial appearance, the judge described what Johnson did as disturbing and very brutal. Police say Johnson admitted to breaking into his neighbor's home sometime around December 29th to steal from Jimenez, then shot the homeowner 3 times. Neighbors say the time of the year made it hard to hear gunshots.
It was fireworks. People were shooting them off probably from Christmas all the way until the 2nd. So, yeah, he would never have actually thought it was gunshot.
Authorities say after killing Jimenez, Johnson lived in the man's home, drove his car, and used his credit cards, all while his body was left in the backyard.
It's weird. It's creepy. I mean, when I read he was here for living here, well, he's back there dead. Like, how can someone do something like that?
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the President or the Attorney General can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Thank you very much, Will. That was the primary purpose of this conference.
Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's law. Very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
Do you feel your administration needs to abide by international law on the global stage?
Yeah, I do. I do, but it depends what your definition of international law is. You mean in Greenland?
We had in
because you needed them at the time.
In the 1951 agreement, though, it says the United States can reopen these bases anytime you want. You can send as many troops as you want, And you haven't done it. How come?
Because I want to do it properly.
And properly means own it?
Really, it is. To me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important.
Why is ownership important here?
Because that's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing.
All this chaos leads to a larger question. What is happening to the world order? Is it being ripped apart? Is it being reshaped? Or is this just a phase? What's happening now is not unprecedented. World powers have always disregarded international law. The difference? How Donald Trump is phrasing it. There is no pretense of following the law. There is no excuse for justification. Trump is owning his violations and recklessness. Look at his recent comments in an interview.
I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people. Yeah, there is one thing. My own morality. My own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me.
So Trump says international law cannot restrict him. Then what can? His own morality, according to Donald Trump.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again shortly?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. And he says it openly. Now again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism.
They present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism.
I want to say is I can no longer, as a pastor, as a human, and as someone who's given their life to the way of Jesus, I can no longer stand by as Christianity gets hijacked by a particular agenda that is not the way of Jesus. I cannot stand by as a Christian and watch Christ's name get hijacked to further justify hate, racism, bigotry, misogyny, and white supremacy. The colonizers who came to America said they were Christians. The KKK said they were Christians. There have been mass shooters whose profile said they were Christians. There were insurrectionists on January 6th who flew Christian paraphernalia. They claimed to be Christians. There were, check this out, some of you know this, slave owners who claimed to be Christian. And what you see in this moment, this week in American history, is you see the twisting of the truth. And what I want to say to you is, if these quotes that Jesus defeated death so you can live by Charlie Kirk and Dr. King was an awful human being and civil rights was a huge mistake, if these feel incompatible, it's because they are. These quotes are not compatible with each other, and I also would like to say they're not compatible with the teachings and way of Jesus. Now, if this makes you uncomfortable, I would invite you to pause for a minute and think about how uncomfortable this makes our people of color feel.
Think about how uncomfortable this makes our people of color feel.
I'm just waiting for the warrant. I don't know what to do, man. This is scary. You don't even know her. Can I just get a warrant? I just want a warrant, man. I got my child in here. This happened yesterday, and
Nothing happened. If we wait, it's gonna get worse. Our SWAT team's gonna come. We have an active warrant for this person. Why do you make it worse? We don't want to deal with nothing with you.
Do you have your ID?
Huh?
She said she has her ID on her.
We've identified her. We saw her.
Hold on.
Sylvia, we're looking for her.
Okay. You put your hand off, you take your f***ing hand, stop. Okay. If I open this door, one, you're not coming in my house. I will give you her. This is her ID.
She is
a U.S. citizen.
They said they ran her place.
This was my DoorDash. The fact that you guys are tormenting. I'm Native American. My family already died for y'all to work here. Hung by Abraham Lincoln. 38 plus 2. So the that y'all are on the Native Americans' house is pissing me the off. I will open this door when I have the decency to open this door since you guys have pointed guns at me. I will open it. But you guys are not coming in my house. You guys will not shoot anybody. You did yesterday.
And you had your hand on your gun this whole time you've been here, dude.
You had your hand on your gun the entire time.
We have it all right here. You're fucking lying.
Get off my yard and I will open the door to let her out. Go up to the car, because I don't feel comfortable letting, I have a 2-year-old. I have a 1.5-year-old baby. I have 3 more in school. I have 3 more in school. Hello?
Hey, Cheyenne, this is Commander Hinkie with the Sheriff's Office calling you.
Yeah?
So, I understand that you're fighting right now.
I'm gonna move out.
I'm going to, but move.
Please.
You have 2 options, right? To either let the paramedics come in and take care of them, or your options. But nobody from the Sheriff's Office is gonna show up there, because that's all I can tell you. I would just be able to tell you the same thing in person.
Okay, but what do I do?
Well, I think that choice is up to you. You have those. I mean, those are your 2 options.
Just saying they'll charge us.
You need to come with me. Come on.
I have family. I'm sorry.
You need to come with me, ma'am.
There's nothing we can do.
Come on.
There's nothing we can do.
Come on. Just come on. Ma'am, I am so sorry. I don't want to do this. Come on. Come on.
Oh my God.
I don't know what to do. I'm Native American. This is against everything I stand for. What the do I do, man? I need you to come up.
I'm sorry.
Ma'am, I need you. Come on. I can't. Don't. No guns. No
guns.
Anybody. No shooting anybody.
It's okay. No guns. No guns. No nothing.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry.
And I'm an old mother, but I've seen some shit I've never seen. This kind of shit. And don't hit me with Michael Cash. Well, what about Biden? This has nothing to do with Biden. Nothing to do with Biden. Nothing. Or Biden's kid. I'm so sick of hearing that shit. This madness needs to stop, where they are turning their militarized ICE against our own citizens.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor. You caught your butter in the face. You killed my neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How the do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the man?
So we're into 6G now. I just 5G. I was a leader on 5G, getting that done. and now they're up to 6.
Let's do it again.
What does that do? Give you a little bit deeper view into somebody's skin? See how perfect it is? I like the cameras the old days. So they just had a nice feature. Now they cover every little. Let's see, Michael, you're in good shape. You're not gonna. But I tell you, it's the 6 is coming, huh?
About 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
When I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services, but not only.
Sure.
It's also good for school enrollment. It's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to get your subsidies, from the government.
Details tonight on what Wegmans does with its biometric data of shoppers. Signs at the Brooklyn and Manhattan stores say facial recognition, eye scans, and voice prints are used and kept to increase security. But when Wegmans originally launched a pilot program, management said any data of shoppers would be deleted. Some customers complained the policy makes them feel uneasy. Legislation in the city council to block biometric storage has stalled for years.
Taking customer surveillance to a whole new level. There's a store here in New York City. It's called Wegmans. I'd never heard of it in South Carolina, but I shop there now. Warning shoppers of technology collecting, storing, and even sharing biometric data, such as facial recognition and eye scans. Kurt, the cyber guy, joins us now. Okay, Kurt, they're doing this so that they can recognize if you're a terrorist or if you've committed a crime. They know which customers to watch.
Weissman says Wegmans is not the first business to collect biometric data, while others, like Walmart, already drawing legal action against its biometric policies, and Rite Aid receiving a federal ban. Responding to Wegmans' claims they're using the data to enhance security at its stores, Weissman says the real concern doesn't rest with Wegmans' use of the data, rather the storage of it and the risk of bad actors getting a hold of it through a cyber attack.
The primary concern is when a retailer collects biometric data on its customers. What is it doing to protect the data?
Payday weekend, it's supposed to be a time of peace.
A family is heartbroken after the loss of 19-year-old Kareem Harris. His sister identified him as the man killed Friday night inside a historic New Orleans restaurant. Good evening, I'm Lauren McCoy. Right now, police are still searching for the gunman who killed a 19-year-old man and shot 3 women tourists, 2 of them in critical condition tonight. And the Chase family says that they are praying for all of those impacted by this tragedy. In a statement released today, the family thanked the community for its support. They say Ducky Chase's has always been a place of gathering, culture, and care, and they won't back down from their commitment to New Orleans. We spoke to a family friend of Kareem Harris today who is still in shock. Michael Willis stands at the crime scene where someone killed his family friend. He remembers what Kareem Harris meant to him.
My encounter with him, he's a good kid. Every time I seen him, he's a good young man.
Willis says he's dating Harris's girlfriend's mom. He watched Harris raise a child who was not his own.
And like I said before, he took on a child that's not his child since she was 4 months, and she'll be 4 years old.
His family tells Fox 8 Harris was a graduate of Livingston Collegiate Academy. Willis says it's hard to watch the family struggle, planning a funeral they never expected.
You know what I'm saying? When you're about to bury your child at the age 19, I don't think anybody's prepared for that.
The NOPD says a gunman chased a 19-year-old man Friday night. The man ran into Ducky Chase's restaurant in Tremay. The gunman followed him and kept shooting. They say the gunman killed the man in the foyer. 3 women tourists were hit by gunfire.
The person who was the target simply ran into the restaurant and where he collapsed. And unfortunately, the perpetrator continued to shoot So innocent bystanders who were patrons were actually hit, but they were in no way targets.
Ducky Chase's restaurant is a staple in this neighborhood and the city. It's nationally recognized as part of the Civil Rights Trail. A shooting leaves a stain on a community that fought so hard for peace.
During the 85 years that this restaurant has been established here, that there's never been any type of incident like this. So this was a very targeted event.
A family mourns, and a little girl, almost 4 years old, is without a father figure. Willis says she doesn't know Harris is gone.
You know, like right now when we was pulling up, she was like, we're about to go by Kareem. That's what she kept saying in her car.
As police investigate, Willis says one question haunts this family. Why?
Manhattan's top prosecutor says a judge does not have the authority to appoint a neutral expert to oversee the release of the Epstein files. In a filing to a judge, Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie say they have, quote, urgent and grave concerns about the slow release of only a small number of more than 2 million documents in the Epstein files. They also said they believe, quote, criminal violations have taken place in the release process. But U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton said the congressmen do not have standing with the court to appoint a neutral expert. The Justice Department, that is, has said that the files release was slowed down by redactions required to protect the identities of abuse victims.
I got really fucking pissed off at the Democrat Party because the maps, the minor attracted persons shit before Trump came into office, we talked about it all the time. Now, why are we protecting, why is the White House protecting pedophiles? Why is the White House protecting pedophiles? I just don't understand it, Ro. I can't fucking get it through my head why we would protect pedophiles. The other thing is, this country has the biggest fucking problem with sex exploitation and sex trafficking in the world. We can talk about fucking Venezuela and Mexico and Ukraine and Russia and fucking China and waste, fraud, and abuse and fucking liberals this and Democrats this and Republicans. And we have a pedophile problem. We have a fucking pedophile problem in this country, and nobody's doing anything about it in government except you and Thomas Massie. What the fuck is going on?
You know how I know this? Because
is everybody in government a fucking pedophile now? What the fuck is happening?
Well, I don't understand who they're trying to protect, because I keep saying it's not about Trump. There's so many people, Democrats, Republicans, who were involved in all of this. Just release the files. And we know, they say, how do you know, Ro, that there are other men involved? First of all, just use your common sense. There are 1,200 plus survivors. You think one guy raped all of them? You think one guy abused all of them? Of course not. There was a system of powerful, rich men who either trafficked in these girls or abused them or showed up to Epstein's rape island. The survivors haven't told me the specific names, but what they have told me with their lawyers is the type of people who were involved. A Wall Street banker, a powerful politician. And they've said that they sat through interviews with the FBI. They're called 302 statements, and they told the names on those 302 statements. So release the 302 statements. They're not doing that, even though the law explicitly calls for releasing those statements. We'll know who these powerful men are. Then there was a prosecution memo. You know, originally, there were 60 counts against Epstein, supposed to be in Florida. They prosecuted him on 2 counts. There's a memo which explains why there should have been 60 counts, including ties with foreign countries, including ties with people who were financing him, including allegations of a honeypot system where he was trying to entrap basically powerful men. And they're not releasing the memo, even though the law explicitly says we want to know all the decisions of why he was charged or not charged. This is, I mean, they're covering it up, and the people are asking, why? Who are the powerful forces that have such influence that they're covering this up?
So this guy, Sasha, he was in the military, but he was trafficked by DJT and Epstein as a young boy because they didn't have enough young boys.
Oh my God.
He said he'd testify. Yeah.
Oh my God. How did
How did she get him on her channel? Wow.
No, I think she was just talking about him. I don't think that she had him on, but he has a Substack apparently. So
are you okay if I record right now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Well, you know, what was going on there in Alabama where they got caught with those 10 kids, that's just essentially what I came from, you know, something like that. And as I understand it, 5 of the kids out of the 10 were related to the people running the operation.
The Trump Epstein operation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, in as much as these people are going to go down, they were working for somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure that those people, and they deserve to go to prison and all of that stuff, but they were running this deal and filming their films and doing all the things that they were doing for somebody else. So whoever, I mean, Epstein's not running it anymore. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison, but I would just about guarantee you that wasn't the end of it.
Yeah. So with those, when we were just discussing with the parties, those torture parties with the girls at the brothels, they'd go to the parties, and often they didn't come back from the parties. Would you summarize again what was going on there?
Well, sometimes they would go to the party and they would be beaten to death or tortured to death at the party by the client. Other times they would go to the party, and depending on I know sometimes the status of the person that the girls had been an escort for would be problematic because they wouldn't want to leave like a witness. So
you mean
they
like
would just
an individual that was considered high profile?
Yes. I couldn't name names on that. I don't know who, but yeah, sometimes they didn't want to leave the girl alive.
So how often, when the girls from the brothels would go to the parties, how often did the girls not come back?
If I had to guess, I'd say like half the time.
Half the time.
Yeah. The parties weren't something that happened all that often. You know, like it'd be around like the federal holidays and stuff like that, Labor Day, or, you know, 4th of July, where you typically would think of as a 4-day weekend.
Yeah.
And, you know, not all of them had parties. Well, I guess all those bigwigs have parties, but, you know, not all of them were those type of parties where they had underage people, I guess. So I don't know how that part was organized.
Yeah. Yeah, so they seem to tie the parties with holiday weekends and things where could be presented sort of like, oh, it was a Labor Day party, or it was like a Christmas holiday parties, some parties at the locations, but it was always where the parties were then dwindled to 8 or 10 of the more depraved pedophiles.
Yep.
This was when a lot of the more depraved torture and rape and murder occurred, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just think that that's an important distinction because a lot of those people that did go to those parties and might have done some cocaine and might have, you know, had an affair or whatever with an escort, it just doesn't rise to the level of what happened towards the end of them. That's a different, you know, there's an illegality of what happened in the beginning of that, but then there's, you know, obviously there's different levels of everything. So, and I think to some degree the people that were waiting there to the end of the party, I mean, they're using all of those other big names and stuff that may have done things that they're not proud of as cover.
Yeah.
You know, it couldn't have possibly happened at this party because, hey, you know, everybody and their brother was at that party.
Well, I think they were and I think they were probably trying to get information on all of those attendees and sort of to use as protective blackmail layer regarding the more depraved torture and murder of American children.
Protective blackmail layer regarding the more depraved torture and murder of American children.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Davos, we know there's the big housing speech. What else can we anticipate?
There's also going to be some look at the new world order that President Trump is creating. And, a lot of countries that were, whining about tariffs 6 months ago and saying that President Trump was going to harm their economies had pretty good years. And I think it's in part because people recognize that President Trump has made it so that we are the shining city on the hill again. We are the engine of global economic growth because the U.S. is really that strong again.
At its core, final word, Europe was born as a project of peace. And Canada, over the years, over the decades, has served alongside European allies in pursuit of that peace. It's that, in those circumstances, from Vimy to Juno, that the world came to know the value of our strength. But now we're working alongside the European Union to combat climate change, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and to protect, amongst other things, academic and scientific freedoms. In these ways, the world knows the strength of our values. And this partnership, which is in defense and security and economics, really builds those strengths in both our jurisdictions and lives up to our values.
Yesterday when you met with Premier Lee, one of the things you said in the public remarks was this partnership, Canada and China, this new partnership sets us up well for the new world order. What did you mean by that? What is the new world order?
Well, it's a great question, Brian, because I think the world is still determining what that order is going to be. And let's be clear what we're talking about first and foremost, which is what is going to govern global trade? What is the role of the WTO going to be? How important are bilateral deals such as the one we're developing, plurilateral deals, if I can use that term, Trans-Pacific Partnership, potential linkages between Trans-Pacific Partnership and the EU? Where is financial regulation, payment system regulation going to fit into that?
And absolute horror in New Jersey when a father finds his 2 young boys dead at home, their own mother now charged with murder. Hello, everyone. At 6 o'clock, I'm David Ushery.
I'm Natalie Pasquarello. We do have to begin with that tragedy out of New Jersey, the killing of those 2 young boys who were just 5 and 7 years old. News 4's Charles Watson live in Hillsborough with just a difficult story, Charles.
Yeah, Natalie and David, a terribly difficult story, certainly for the family at the center of all of this, because it was the father who found the deceased bodies of their sons, according to police, and then told authorities that his wife was behind the murders of their innocent 5 and 7-year-old sons.
It's awful. It's just absolutely awful.
Noreen Rogers having a hard time making sense of the shocking murders of 2 brothers ages 5 and 7 inside her community in the Brookhaven Lofts. Even more shocking, police say the boys' mother is responsible for killing them.
I can't imagine how she could do that and what her husband must have, felt when he got home.
The kid's mother, identified as 35-year-old Priya Tharsini Natajaran, now behind bars charged with their murder. Police say it was the kid's father who called 911 Tuesday evening after finding the 5 and 7-year-old boys unconscious in their apartment on Shell Court. The father telling a 911 dispatch operator that his wife did something to the children. When officers arrived on scene, police say they found the young boys unresponsive in the bedroom. Medics attempted to save their lives, but it was too late.
As a mom, I can say it's really very devastating news.
This neighbor, who's also a mother, says she lives on the same street and saw the police presence, but had no idea that a tragedy was unfolding.
It's not, there's a lot of cops, a lot of cops over there, and medicaps as well. So that's the only thing which we saw, but we didn't know
What happened?
The boys were students at Sunnymead Elementary. Hillsborough Public School Superintendent Mike Vogt calling their deaths unfathomable, writing in part in a statement, quote, "Our priority remains the emotional health of our students and staff. Crisis response teams and additional counseling services are on site and will remain available for as long as they are needed." What's mind-boggling to one neighbor who knows the family and asked to remain anonymous is that Natasha Ron seemed to be a good mother who was actively involved in her children's lives, others who live here calling for justice.
I pray for the families of the kids. You know, if she's in jail, that's fine.
Yeah, and the medical examiner's office will perform autopsies to determine the cause of the victims' deaths. As for their mother, she is currently facing 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of third-degree possession of a weapon for unlawful purposes. She's currently being held at the Somerset County Jail.
All right, check this out. 2 videos sent to our newsroom are raising questions after showing inexplicable lights flashing across the Fresno sky. In the first video, this one was taken on New Year's Eve. You can see that the viewer spotted this one light in the sky, and the viewer tells us that they've never seen anything like this before. In this second video, you can see 3 to 4 lights moving in succession, and it's just plain weird. Also, it is upside down, but when the video is right side up, it looks just as weird. So basically, 2 of our viewers chimed these videos in. They're inexplicable. We reached out to a licensed FAA drone specialist in Fresno, and he gave us the following statement. He says, quote, "After looking more into these videos and sharing them with other drone enthusiasts, these do not resemble any drones that we are aware of." Because a lot of you on our Facebook page, you sounded off in the comments and you mentioned what you think these lights are. One person writing that they thought perhaps one of the lights could be floating lanterns or drones. I mean, we thought it could be drones too. That's why we reached out to a drone expert. Another viewer said, quote, "It's probably an experimental aircraft out of Lemoore." We actually did reach out to the Lemoore Air Base and did not hear back. And that leads us to our question of the day. We want to know, what do you think the mysterious lights are? Okay, so we have some numbers here. 38% say it's a drone. Coming in second, 33% think it's a UFO. 5% think it's a firework or flares. 24%, that's where I'm at, folks. I'm not sure.
Caught on camera, the night sky lighting up in parts of the St. Louis viewing area last night. Fox News' Jeff Bernthal reports some surprised residents in Fenton say they also felt their homes shake.
It was hard to determine the direction. It just kind of sounded like it was up this way.
Fenton residents Nick Brown and fiancée Jennifer Hartley could not believe what they felt Thursday night.
Relaxing after dinner and sitting on the couch, and you just hear a loud boom, and you could feel it in your feet. You could feel it on the couch.
We felt the house shake.
One possible explanation was captured on cameras throughout the St. Louis area. A light show coinciding with reports of space rocks, commonly called meteors, falling from the sky. The quadrantid meteor shower typically peaks in early January. A camera from the EarthCam network recently captured what appeared to be a meteor falling in the night sky with a gateway arch in the background. Astronomy experts say meteors can create sonic booms.
We heard 2 loud booms. It was the first initial boom, and then about maybe half a second later, another one.
There's no indication of meteors hitting the ground in the St. Louis area Thursday night. The Fenton Fire Department confirms online speculation they responded to damage was not true.
Initially, we thought a car had gone off the road and hit the telephone pole like happened a few months back, or hit the house. We've had it happen a lot of times in the last few years.
So we thought someone crashed into the house. Like, we physically felt it underneath us, which is why afterwards I was like, it had to have been Earth.
The Pentagon is reportedly preparing to deploy 1,500 soldiers to Minnesota as protesters continue to cause chaos for immigration agents in the state.
Our own Matt Finn joins us live from Minneapolis with all those details. Matt, good morning.
Good morning to you, Rachel. Well, we're entering week 3 of the unrest here in Minnesota, and the clashes between protesters and law enforcement are showing no signs of slowing down. Another tense scene Saturday outside the federal ICE facility. Law enforcement holding the line against angry protesters who can be heard screaming, "Kill yourself," and "Un-American" to officers. The Washington Post reporting about 1,500 active duty soldiers preparing to possibly make their way here if more violence escalates. And Governor Tim Walz also mobilized the Minnesota National Guard yesterday. The Guard staged to support local law enforcement if needed and says it's ready to respond to locations across the metro area. Now, yesterday, protests continued outside the ICE detention center, and there was also a violent clash between counter-protesters at City Hall. President Trump has warned that he may use the Insurrection Act here in Minnesota, which would allow the federal government to use military troops to bring calm. Meanwhile, a statewide day of action is scheduled for this Friday. Activists are asking people not to attend work, school, or make purchases, and the St. Paul Federation of Educators is also asking people to participate in that day of action Friday. Back to you guys in New York.
All right, Matt Finn, live force in Minneapolis. Matt, thank you. It's just continuing to ramp up and up and up. And it's important as we continue to cover this story to remember how we got here. The reckless open border policies of Joe Biden led to the criminals, the violent illegal alien criminals, that ICE has gone into places like Minneapolis, a sanctuary city, to clean them up. And you had yesterday Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff, really railing on Minnesota's leaders, accusing them of aiding and abetting anti-ICE violence. Watch this.
These are acts of insurrection against the laws of the United States and against the sovereignty of the United States. Foreign illegal aliens who broke into this country, who then raped children, who committed human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, protected, shielded, sheltered, coddled, defended at every level by the leadership in Minnesota.
Who was that? You mean the draft-dodging coward? I don't call him by name. He's the draft-dodging coward who, when it was his time to serve his country, he did what all rich white boys did. I wasn't a rich white boy. I grew up in South Minneapolis. Most of me and all my friends are Vietnam veterans. We had to go. But the rich white boys never had to go, did they? And he didn't have to go, did he? And yet he's going to tell me what courage is? You want to know something? I'll give you a quote. We're a third world country now. You want to know why? I'm an expert. I've been to them. I spent 17 months in Southeast Asia while the draft dodger was playing golf, right? You know how I know we're a third world country? Because in third world countries, they have the military doing their police work in the cities when you walk around. I was in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and went under dictatorship. We went from nobody to a guy with a machine gun on every corner. That's what happens in a dictatorship. In comes the military. That's what's happening here. And people better wake up to it. You want to read something? Then read your history of Germany and start comparing the tactics of what happened in 1930s Germany to what's happening here. Read history. You learn from history. And this is nothing new. This is all repeated. This is a game plan, it looks like to me, you know, of what's going on here. How dare Minnesota, we'll take care of ourselves. We don't need federal troops coming in here without warrants.
Some people have said this undermines local law enforcement.
It undermines the entire Constitution. The military cannot be turned loose unless it's a national emergency. They're going to tell me this is a national emergency?
Is it right or wrong to arrest someone because of the color of their skin?
Absolutely not.
Is it right or wrong to arrest somebody because of their accent?
Wrong.
Is it right or wrong to arrest somebody because they were exercising their constitutional rights?
It is wrong.
Is it right or wrong to arrest somebody because they simply disagree with you?
It's wrong.
All right, so it seems like y'all all went to elementary school and y'all can tell right from wrong. This is pure racism. I don't know why we want to tinker around with it and pretend as if it's something other than what it is. I like to call a thing. And some people are saying, I don't know how we got here, but I do. Because when we look at other places, say places that did things like, oh, you know, go door to door looking for people as they had to hide out, say in an attic. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Or the images that I have seen of people being attacked by law enforcement, whether we're talking about dogs or fire hoses, it seems very reminiscent of something that we have seen before in this country. This looks like modern day slave patrols. Whoever thought we would live in a country that progress looks like having a Supreme Court that says, yes, it is okay to look at somebody or to listen to their accent and give permission to grab them. The last time that I checked, ICE is only supposed to be doing immigration enforcement. And right now we have a record number of U.S. citizens that have not only been arrested, but as we saw with Renee, that have been killed, that have been maimed, that have been bullied, that have been brutalized. Y'all, we are living with an abuser right now. That is who Trump and his administration is. But if you know anything about a domestic abuser, the one thing about them that you need to know is that they are some of the biggest cowards that you will ever find.
And new information on a hit and run in Brooklyn. The NYPD identified the woman killed as Kiana Underwood, a former Nickelodeon child actress who was homeless. Naomi Ruckham spoke with an actress who worked on the same show as Underwood about her success and her struggles.
Underwood, Kiana. As a young actress, Kiana Underwood landed a dream role on Nickelodeon's 10th season of All That. I'm in? Am I in? Her death has shaken the All That family, including actress Angelique Bates, who was part of the show's original cast. Bates remembers meeting Underwood at a cast party in 2005.
After giving her a hug, I said, you know what? I'm passing the torch to you. And she was just so happy.
But in recent years, Underwood struggled with homelessness, police say. Bates raised concerns about Underwood in 2023, pleading for help on Instagram.
She's one of us, and she needs help, but she's not getting it.
Knowing now what happened to Kiana and that you did speak up about this, how do you feel today?
Horrible. Everything that's happening right now, I pretty much predicted. I said, you know, are people going to wait till it's too late to, you know, that she's gone or she's in jail?
The gruesome hit and run that killed Underwood early Friday morning in Brownsville, Brooklyn, was captured on surveillance video. Underwood crossed the street against the pedestrian signal and was hit by two different vehicles. Neither driver stopped, and no arrests have been made. A nearby store owner said he'd given Underwood clothing and shoes last week.
She would come around and ask for a couple of dollars here and there. And I used to give her a couple of dollars and buy her food.
Bates believes this tragedy could have been prevented.
As much as she loved her supporters, as much as she loved the franchise, I think she would have loved to know that that love was reciprocated.
And she hopes Underwood is remembered for her humor and her talent. Welcome to the cast of All That! Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Also in the Middle East, Iran's supreme leader is blasting the West tonight, blaming the U.S. for those massive anti-regime protests that prompted violent crackdowns. This is we're getting a better picture of just how many people have been killed by the regime in the unrest. Molly Hunter is tracking all of this for us tonight. Molly, good evening.
Jose, today for the first time, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei admitted that thousands of people have been killed. A U.S.-based human rights group estimates about 3,000 protesters have been killed by Iranian security forces. But because of the internet blackout over the last week, the actual numbers are very hard to independently confirm. Now, in his speech today, Khamenei didn't take any responsibility for the killings that he described as, quote, inhumane and savage, instead blaming the protesters and also the United States for inciting the violence, calling President Trump a criminal. President Trump, meanwhile, told Politico, quote, it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. Jose?
A new report by Iran International is claiming that 12,000, yes, 12,000 20,000 people have now been slaughtered by the regime in the revolution happening in real time in Iran. Well, Iranian-American journalist Lisa Daftari joins us now with the breaking details. Lisa, my friend, Iran International is calling this, quote, the largest killing in Iran's contemporary history. I even saw CBS News claiming that it could be up close to 20,000 people. What are you hearing on the ground?
Yeah, we have no way of confirming that actual death toll because there is obviously electricity and internet blackout. This is obviously by design. The regime does not want the people telling their stories. They've been traditionally citizen journalists in the last rounds of protests that they have had. This time around, of course, they don't want them communicating, organizing, getting medical help. I mean, they are the enemy of the people. When we say that, it is not in jest. This is actually happening in real time. But it's important not to just look at the death toll now in the last couple of weeks of protests, but to look at it over 47 years. This regime has been brutal. It has been bloody. It has executed people over social media posts and over being athletes and over showing their hair. If you recall the Masa Amini protests, over the beating of a 22-year-old girl. All she wanted to do was wear her hijab in a more modern and relaxed way, and she lost her life for it. So I think it's important for people around the world to support this movement, to understand that what this movement is about: basic, raw freedom for the people of Iran.
There's a video going around Telegram of just body bags everywhere. I don't know, obviously I don't think we can show it here, but I showed it to my wife this morning and she's like, stop, I can't watch this. It was just the street were literally just lined with body bags and people just weeping. I guess, yeah, what are your contacts saying as to how brutal this crackdown has become?
It is brutal. The regime is at its end, and they know that, and they will do anything. And they have never, ever cared for the people of Iran, so why would they start now?
The Bush administration's open borders policy and its decision to ignore the enforcement of this country's immigration laws is part of a broader agenda. President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
I feel like 2026 is even more of a big year in foreign affairs.
No question, because the United States is undoing its own global order and is in the midst of what we call a political revolution.
It is happening. I think it's not a matter of whether we're going to take de facto control of Greenland. It's how and when. The leaders of both Greenland and Denmark traveling all the way to the White House to meet with Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio today. And as expected, their leaders are digging in their heels.
We had what I will describe as a frank but also constructive discussion. We also agreed to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk. The big difference is whether that must lead to a situation where U.S. acquire Greenland, and that is absolutely not necessary. I mean,
the Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America sounds benign, hardly like a policy that critics call NAFTA on steroids. It's a deal that few have even heard of.
It's being done again by very few people at the very top on behalf of the investment class, but the working class of people. Political officials across our country, from communities, from cities and so forth, they don't know anything about this.
Yet it was agreed to by Mexico's President Fox, Canada's Prime Minister Martin, and President Bush in 2005. Administration officials counter their critics by saying everything about SPP is on the White House website. And they say the partnership is not a treaty, but more of an outline of priorities between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Still, some wonder why there haven't been public discussions about the goals being pursued.
This SPP includes, for instance, a committee that is sitting down to harmonize our meat inspection and food safety. So how far away from a trade agreement can your dining room table and what you feed your kids be?
Other parts of the agreement mention border security as an issue, which include all of North America. In fact, the name of the agreement is not Security and Prosperity of the United States, but of North America.
When we elect officials, we expect them to act on our behalf.
Elon Musk is accusing the UK government of being fascist after stepping up their threats to ban the social media site X that he owns over AI-generated sexualized images. There have been growing concerns about the tool known as Grok being used to create deep fake images of people, even children, without their consent. Well, Elon Musk took to X earlier this morning, attacking the UK government, saying they just want to suppress free speech. Also writing separately, why is the UK government so fascist? He posted.
Billionaire Elon Musk has a full-blown crisis on his hands this morning. Multiple countries are moving to ban his AI tool Grok over concerns it's being used to create sexualised images. Live to Europe correspondent Ben Downey in London. Ben, the chatbot's facing a global backlash.
Tegan, it is. Malaysia and Indonesia are the first two nations to ban Grok for fear it's creating unconsensual, sexualised images of women and children. And here in the UK, the nation's communication watchdog Ofcom has just followed Australia's lead, launching an investigation into Elon Musk's X, saying there are deeply concerning reports of the chatbot being used to create and share explicit content. In addition, British Technology Secretary Liz Kendall has just announced deepfake and non-consensual images will be made illegal in the UK.
Content which has circulated on X is vile. It's not just an affront to decent society, it is illegal. They are not harmless images. They're weapons of abuse, disproportionately aimed at women and girls.
In response, Elon Musk hasn't taken this down. He has only put it behind a paywall, a move characterised by the British government as making these illegal images a premium service. If X is found guilty of generating such images, it faces a fine of up to 10% of its global revenue, as well as a court-ordered ban of the platform in Britain.
Social media giant Meta has given an update on how it's been tracking since Australia kicked children under the age of 16 off its platforms.
During this announcement, we heard Nigel Farage speak about the proposed social media ban for people under 16. Of course, we have that in effect here in Australia now. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has backed the ban, but Farage says the country should wait and see how things go here before making any decision. Here he is.
I'm not very keen, generally, on banning things. My answer would be, let's see where Australia is in 6 months' time. Let's see whether this actually works. Now look, we have laws, of course, about what age you can start drinking. I mean, do those laws actually stop people drinking under 18? I'm not sure they do. I would say, let's see the Australian experiment, let's see how it works, and then make our minds up.
Let me be clear. If any law enforcement agent, any ICE agent, is going to come to Philly to commit crimes, then you can get the F out of here. Because if you do that here, I will charge you with those crimes. You will be arrested. You will stand trial. You will be convicted, whether it's in state or federal court. It's my office prosecuting it. That's how the law works. And you will do your time because Donald Trump cannot pardon you for a state court conviction. Do you hear me, ICE agents? Do you hear me, National Guard? Do you hear me, military? You're going to jail if you commit crimes in the city of Philadelphia. You will be accountable. The law applies to all of you. And I know that there are honest, decent, moral law enforcement officers out there by the bushel, including in ICE. This is not for you. This is for any one of your colleagues who thinks they are above the law.